Kia ora and welcome to Deep Dives with Will and Reubs.
The show that is making accounting cool again.
I'm Will.
I'm Reubs.
And today, this episode is Creative Destruction.
That's right, this is the episode that focuses on the first 2 years in business and the process of creative destruction, which is what I kind of coined to describe the process of creating something new, building new value in the world. Entrepreneurship, if you want to use that word. Starting something new to create new value for somebody who doesn't yet have it, okay? And in the process, destroying and rebuilding what you think is going to work for those people.
Totally, yeah. So what we're trying to give you here is more of a step-by-step of conceiving an idea and then taking it all the way through to making some money out of it, really. Getting your business to market.
Before we crack into that, you have a quote for us.
I do have a quote, yes. This one is from Oprah Winfrey.
Give it to me.
When you undervalue what you do, the world will undervalue who you are.
That certainly vibes with me. I know when I started coming up, selling my time for money, professional services, thinking about what we should charge, it seemed unheard of coming from a salary where I was used to being paid $30 an hour or $50 an hour on some salary that equated to that, and then suddenly billing out, $150, $200 plus for the services.
Oh, dude, when the first job I ever got when I went out in business, when I went out on my own, I sold a Xero implementation to a lovely lady in Wellington, and it was she was a client of the accounting practice that I was working at.
Yep.
And then my boss gave me a bit of an alley-oop.
Okay.
And is just like, hey, this is Will, he's going to talk to you about Xero. Okay. So I sit down and I said to her, oh, look, I'll implement your Xero, I'll provide your training, I'll come out and see you on site. And I promised the world.
You just promise whatever you got to do to get that sale.
And I said, and then it'll cost you $500. And I was like, how am I charging that much money?
Yeah, you thought that was like a lot of money, right?
Oh yeah, I thought it was heaps of money.
You were waiting for her to just slam, just walk out of the room and be like, I can't afford that. I can't believe you'd charge me that.
Oh, absolutely. And she goes, yeah, that sounds good. And I was just like, shocked? Whoa. And I was just like, yeah, oh man, I was so stoked, eh? And then I ended up selling my next project I sold. I implemented Unleashed.
Yep,
Inventory management, yep, for she manufactured and distributed baby clothing. Okay. She was located in Auckland, which is on the other side of the country for me.
Yes.
So for a grand total of $500, I flew up to Auckland, gave her a day on-site training.
Yes, after you've set up her software.
After I've set up the software, which took a long time, and then I provided about 3 months of after-sales support.
For $500. Wow.
Yeah.
Did she reimburse you your flights separately?
No.
Oh my lord.
No. And I even had it's funny. I actually had Gareth from Unleashed come out with me on site to do that meeting with me. So this is just early days, really early days.
Well, that's a really good example of not valuing what you do, or not having the correct value in what you do, and people not therefore valuing you.
Correct, that's exactly right, yeah. And actually, this is actually really interesting because we were talking in a previous episode about not scaling too quickly. And what I do like about, what I did from a consultant's point of view was not good. I didn't value my time whatsoever. But what I really respect Gareth for doing is because Unleashed was very early in their journey as well. He made the effort to come with me to meet with this client, and he spent a few hours on site taking her through the software with me. And I think that's really cool because that was Gareth not just focusing on scale, going, sorry, we're busy scaling a software company. Right, yeah. I'm not interested in spending time with you.
I can't afford to visit every customer for 2 hours.
That's it. But he actually took the time to come out and meet the customer with me, which I think is really, really admirable.
And not enough people do that.
Yeah, and I think from a consultant point of view, what I did wasn't the best approach, charging $500 and spending all that time going to the other side of the country for that. That's not valuing my time. Just looking back at this quote we've got from Oprah. I just think it was quite cool that despite that, Gareth actually made the effort to come out and meet the customer.
Yeah, I've got another one that will make you cringe. Actually, my first customer, before it was around the time we met, or maybe when we first started out to keep some income coming in, so I could keep paying my rent. My first customer was actually my old employer. And they said, oh, well, because I left, it wasn't suddenly, it was 4 weeks notice. But they said, would you, contract back to us? Just, as many hours as you can manage. Let us know what that would cost. And, not really knowing anything about my time or my value or my services, I said, well, I think $75 an hour would be an appropriate price for that. And then my boss said, I'd be more comfortable with $50 an hour. And guess what I said?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, totally.
And so there I was, stuck in this scenario. And I quickly wrapped that up because, it wasn't really worth my time. But I thought $75 was outrageous when I suggested it, and he quickly recognised that I didn't know my own value at that point anyway. So as far as consulting went, $50 an hour for someone to manage all of your accounts, it was pretty cheap.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And it's funny you say that because I had the same scenario when I went out on my own. My boss, after I left, I said, "Oh, can I?" If I run, if I'm in a lot of trouble, can I contract back to you?
Yep.
And then I said to him, could I do that at $30 an hour?
Yeah, wow, that's even worse than me.
Yeah, $30. Yeah. I didn't actually end up doing that at all because I was too busy running around doing, buying lunches for my team and taking up a whole lot of debt.
That's a professional services perspective.
Yeah.
We'll do a separate session on sales because once we get through this episode, we'll get into a whole how to sell or who to sell or some advice we've learned over the years about selling and making your first sale is probably one of the hardest sales you're going to do. It all gets easier from that. But if you're in the product business, you still have a value. And you need to recognise that there's a reason you are doing what you're doing, and it doesn't matter if you're selling. Let's imagine I'm selling brooms. Okay, your time is still valuable. If you're knocking people's doors or selling brooms to businesses that wholesale brooms, your knowledge about bristles, your knowledge about brooms is valuable. And so when you're not just selling brooms, you're selling what the broom does and your knowledge about the problems your customer has that are solved by that broom and the best broom for them, for example. So it's not just professional services value. We put a dollar value on things. It's also product related.
Oh, absolutely. And this is a problem I've got with one of my other businesses at the moment, Hypopack. And what we're doing is we on our website we're selling a box of Hypopack, which is a 12-pack of them, and we're selling them for $30.
Right.
And our margin on that really just doesn't cover the time that it takes to take an order, and then it goes into Unleashed, and then we need to look at dispatching it, and then getting the courier organised and getting the box ready and putting it out the front there. And it's a lot of work, and the margin on that just doesn't even cover the time. So I'm sort of scratching my head what to do about the scenario at the moment, because we are getting a few orders through the website, but it's just the margin that we build into the product doesn't cover the time involved. But we might go, hey, we're selling the product at a profit. Well, yeah, but it's a lot of time it takes to actually do this. So it's really interesting that you bring that up.
So that's our quote of the week.
So the quote just again for you was, when you undervalue what you do, the world will undervalue who you are. It's a very, very cool quote.
You are not the jobs that you take on, you're the jobs you turn away.
That's right, yeah, totally.
The things you say no to say as much about you and the way the world perceives you or the way you perceive your value as the ones you take on.
Yeah, totally. And we've been working together very, very closely for 6, probably coming up to 7 years now. And I remember, we're very, very good at if we do have difference of opinions and things through a strategic perspective, we're very good at sort of working our way through that. But there's one time you really, really got pissed off at me.
I can't remember, man. It sounds like there's more than one.
No, there's been a few, but there's one thing I did that really pissed you off, which was we had a customer that you did work for, and then they complained about the bill, and I got caught off guard on the phone call, and then I wrote that time off, and then I told you about that, and for you felt like your time was undervalued. And then but what I should have done is should have had a conversation with you, heard your perspective, and then let you and the customer sort of discuss that. But by writing that off, I undervalued you, which was something that I've always sort of regretted doing.
Totally. Yeah. Well, that's water under the bridge these days.
That is.
I'll never drink that brand of beer again.
Yeah, that's right.
I think those people close to me will know.
No. Moving on.
Okay.
So. So cash flow forecast is done. We have identified that our customers like our idea, they're willing to pay for it. So the next step is we're starting to get into the what I think is quite the fun stuff, as we need to get a logo designed and get our company name set up and registered. So the order that we'd recommend is first what you want to do is register the domain name.
Yeah.
So you can go to Crazy Domains, you can go to OpenHost, you can go to GoDaddy, you can go to Number One Domains, I think is another one. Free Parking's another one. There's all these domain sites out there. Pretty easy to find. Just Google buy domain and then you'll have like 10 pages on Google.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Does my company name need to match my brand?
No, it does not.
Really?
Company name being...
My organisation name.
Your organisation name. So the legal name of your company does not have to match your trading name. So you can have a trading name that's separate to the actual brand name. I'll give you a perfect example. AJW Enterprises Limited is the organisation.
Sounds like a property holding or something, or maybe a big global corporate.
Yeah, that's right.
What does it actually do?
AJW, which is Arthur, Jack, and Will Enterprises. So these are me and my two brothers.
Yep.
And the company owns Hypopack. So Hypopack is the brand. Hypopack.com is the website.
Yep.
But the actual legal entity is AJW Enterprises, because we at some stage in the future may want to have spin-off brands out of that. So we don't necessarily want to create a new company for every brand that we come up with.
Yep.
But that's a manufacturing and distribution business. Hyperpack is the brand. So so don't get hung up on what the company name is. You want to think about what your brand is, and your brand and your domain, I believe, should match.
Once I've purchased my domain, hopefully for not too much money, you want to find one that's don't go and start a business called Amazon Cleaning Services or something, because you probably find that's purchased.
Yeah, Amazon.com might be quite hard to buy.
This is a good example. So have a good think about it and make sure that it's the brand, it has a domain that is affordable and cheap, ideally for you.
Yeah. I mean, Amazon Cleaning Services might be available. I haven't checked, but you might AmazonCleaningservices.co.nz. I have no idea if that exists or not.
Me either, but snap it up.
Yeah, that's right. So what you want to do first of all is check, does the domain exist? And that domain, I believe, should match the brand, because what's going to happen is someone's going to hear about your brand. Let's say our brand is Amazon Cleaning Services. Or if I want to get them on board to do some work for me, I might have some vans driving around with this really cool Amazon Cleaning Services, and I've got I've written this van already in my mind, and it's got like Amazon Jungle
Flames.
It's got flames.
Whoa! It's a bit topical.
Whoa, hang on, slow down.
I was thinking flames in the front, like a really fast car, but no, we don't want flames on the Amazon anymore that we have.
Do we edit these podcasts, or do we?
We might do that. Continue.
We've got Amazon Cleaning Services Limited. No, not necessarily limited. So let's recoup.
Yes.
Amazon Cleaning Services, right? So I might have a vehicle that's got Amazon Cleaning Services on the side. It's all branded. And then what I want to do is I want to Google Amazon Cleaning Services. Now, if my domain does not match that, it's quite hard for people to find me.
Yeah.
So it's a really good idea. If you have a brand name or whatever you want to call the brand you're going to take to market, make sure that that matches your domain name.
Yeah, and another suggestion I would have is in your brand name, try to include the thing that you do. So Hypopack is related to
hypoglycemia.
Yeah, hypoglycemia. And the pack is...
The pack is what has the glucose sachet and the biscuit in it.
Right. So you don't need to get too clever and creative. Amazon Cleaning Services is fine. It's very clear to me, without even having ever met anybody that works in this business, that this is a cleaning services company. Okay, I may not know what they clean just yet. It'd be better if it was Amazon Commercial Cleaning Services, if that's what you wanted to do. But it's good to be a bit more literal.
Yeah, ironically, my first business was Pond.
Yes. And what does Pond do? Do they clean ponds?
No, it was a cloud integration business.
I never would have guessed.
Yeah, I know. And that was to this day I can't remember how I came up with that name. I just can't remember, but it sounded cool. I was like, I'm going to create a company that's going to be called Pond. It sounds cool.
I think when you're starting out, try to keep it literal, because that's going to make it easier for customers to instantly get what you do and where they can find you.
Yeah, I think what I was doing, I was going for like a brand, like Nike. What's Nike mean?
Correct.
But it's Nike shoes. We can put that together now. But when you're trying to, unless you're trying to create like this global brand, I don't know. if you're going to create a service, it's a good idea. I suppose there's a difference between a product and a service, right? A product, you can probably get away with something like Pond,
correct,
for a brand, but as a service, which is what it was, it was so far detached from what we actually do. We link solutions. Well, we link accounting solutions. Like it's
a little bit more literal. A lot of people come up with weird and wonderful names for their brands that bear no relation to their products or services, and I think that makes it harder for them.
So get your domain name sorted. So you can just go register that online, and then after you've got that, the next step we believe is to get your email address set up.
Great.
So let's take Amazon cleaning services. Let's just roll with this as an example. Now, what I find annoying is Amazon cleaning services at gmail.com.
Yeah, or worse, it'll be, let's imagine I'm dealing with Mary at Amazon Cleaning Services, and Mary says, just flick him an email to sweetbettypie216 at gmail.com. I'm like, what? Who am I dealing with here? What is this? Is this a business, or is this like someone? Is this? Should I be emailing this email address?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first thing you want to do when you're trying to find customers, especially in the commercial world or in the B2B world, is you want to be professional. And the first thing you need to do is have an email address that is with your domain. So, for example, you would want to have Will at amazoncleaningservices.co.nz.
Yep, or even better, something a bit shorter, maybe.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
You're going to be typing this out. It's going to fit on your business card. People need to be able to memorize it. So if that's what you go with, amazoncleaningservices.co.nz, great. But if you can get it a little bit shorter, even better.
Yeah, absolutely. It could be, amazoncleaning.co.nz.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's right. So what you want to do is get your domain registered, and then you set up your email address, and you can, I'm sure if you were to jump on YouTube or Google, or you might have a friend who knows a little bit about websites, they'll be able to help you set those up. It is a little bit tricky, to be honest.
I agree, yeah.
Reubs made some videos on it a few years ago on how to do it. I think, are they on YouTube?
I'll put them on YouTube.
Reubs will put them on YouTube. So if you just look up our YouTube channel.
I'm not the only one who's done it. I'm not by any means an expert, but yes, it can be a little bit tricky, especially if you're not too tech savvy, getting that domain name sorted. But basically, you want to use a service like an email service like Google, and then you're going to need somewhere to host those inboxes. So believe it or not, the email client you use, which is the thing you log into to check your emails, is not actually where your emails are stored. They're stored on another service somewhere else on a domain service. So that's the complexity people find quite difficult, and you need to kind of connect the two up. And there's lots of resources online, but we'll make sure we've got a video up about how to do that.
Yeah, totally. And otherwise, look, just talk to someone. No doubt, if you have more than like 50 friends or know more than 50 people, one of the 50 people will know how to do it. And it's probably about an hour's work for someone who knows what they're doing.
Yep.
So, So set your email address up. After you set your email address up, I suppose the next step would be to get the logo sorted. You reckon? Anything else you do before that?
I would choose a company structure, or choose a business structure and decide.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Whatever country you might be in, you may find there's lots of different types of, some examples with a company, a limited liability company, a partnership, maybe you're a incorporated society or club or something. Maybe you're a not-for-profit charity, perhaps. Whatever, depending on what you're trying to achieve, most of you are going to need to be a limited liability company.
That's right, yeah. And other parts of the world, they might be called different things.
Yep.
An incorporated company. So essentially what we're wanting to do is create a legal entity that is separate from yourself as an individual.
That is so essential. Yeah, so that's the first, one of the biggest things to get your head around when you first start into business, is that the business and you are separate. Even though you're the only person in it, even though you're the only person who owns it and you're the only person who works in it, they are two different legal entities.
Yeah, it exists on its own. Now,
like a birth certificate. You kind of got to get a birth certificate.
Yeah, it's called a company. What is it called? A company register. What are they called? A certificate of incorporation.
Yeah.
That's what they're called. Yeah. Generally, you want to register a legal entity. Now, a common misconception is that if you set up a legal entity and then you trade everything through it, you have absolutely no liability. So you can do whatever you want, and then you're not going to get in trouble. So if you get a whole lot of finance under the company, you can walk away from it.
Now, it is a limited liability company, which means that the liability is limited to the shareholders. However, You are the shareholder.
Yeah. So
director.
If the bank is going to lend you any money, or if any finance company is going to lend you money, they're going to lend money to the company, being Amazon Cleaning Services Limited, and then what they'll get you to do is sign a PG, a personal guarantee that says that if the company cannot pay its debts, then you as the director are liable. So and then there's basically no way to get finance without signing one of those these days.
Yep, totally.
So although it's a great exercise to set up an entity to trade out of, you're still not going to be removed from all the liability that exists with setting that up.
Bit of a misnomer, limited liability in reality.
Yeah, but what I'd probably we would recommend doing is probably getting some advice around what the best company structure is.
Absolutely, yeah. So don't go and just rely on our advice. Go and find out what you want to achieve and the best structure for that in the country you're in, and the best person to check with that is
your accountant.
Yeah, which if you don't have one already, now is a really good time to go shopping around for an accountant.
That's right. And a bit of advice on picking an accountant. I'm going to throw a few things out. Reubs, you might have a few things as well. One thing is you'd want to think about what technology you'd like to use in your business. I know we're jumping ahead a little bit. Like Reubs and I, we've worked in the Xero world for a long time. So if I was going to start a business, I'd want an accountant that uses Xero. Where you might be, for example, you could be going, right, well, I would know that I want to use Intuit because that's what my family has always used. So then you want to find an accountant that uses Intuit. So have a bit of a think about what technology stack you'd want to use in your business. And then from there, pick an accountant that aligns with that. Because what you don't want to do is end up using one accounting system and your accountant uses a different accounting system. Then they're going to charge you literally 3 times as much money to do all these journals between the 2 different accounting platforms. These days, there's no excuse. You should have a single ledger. Whatever you do your accounts in, your bookkeeping records in should be the same platform as your accountant is doing your end of year accounts in. There's no excuses anymore.
No. Another thing you should, I believe, is that you should not start with some spreadsheets. Keeping spreadsheets of the people you owe money, or the people who owe you money, or what your bank balance is, or what your P&L might be. I don't care how clever your spreadsheet is. Just pay for some accounting software. You're a business now. Be a grown-up. Make sure you pay for some quality accounting software, because it's the base, it's the entry level. Doesn't matter if you're a one-man band. You need to have that. Yeah,
absolutely. And one other bit of advice I'd say about picking an accountant is I'd pick someone that's close to your age. So if you are in your early 30s, find an accountant that's in their early 30s. If you are in your early 20s, you might want to find someone maybe in their late 20s or something. And the reason for that is you want to create a partnership and you stick with this person for a very long time. What you don't want to do is, if you're in your 50s, you might want to go find an accountant that's in their 50s because you want to be on the same page. What you don't want to do is, let's say you're in your early 20s, don't go find an accountant that's in their mid 60s just because your mum uses them.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, that's
or
right.
Or even worse, don't use. I say this about a lot of different things. A lot of people who start out in business, they will. It's really good to use, the connections you have, but don't let Auntie Mary design your website. Don't let your cousin Jim, who studies graphic design your logo. You're a business now. Do things professionally. So don't use.
Friends and family
for everything. Yeah, if you want to be a family business, the biggest weakness of a family business is that it's a family before it's a business. So if you want to be a business family, so be a business first and then a family.
Absolutely.
Better yet, just avoid it altogether and use other people who are good at what they do.
Yeah, totally. And I had a point on the accounting side of things. Okay, this is the other thing I was going to say is. What advisors should you get around you? I think in the very, very early stages, it's important to get an accountant. I think a lawyer you could look at getting a little bit further down the track once we're starting to get the ball rolling. But I think getting an accountant is fundamental, and just getting some basic advice around company structure, getting a ledger set up, and they can sort of oversee the bank accounts that you're setting up and that sort of thing.
That brings us on to
the next
point, which is, so now you've got a legal entity of some sort, and you've got your domain name, and you've got the next thing for you to do is to set up a bank account for that new entity, whatever that might be. So you're going to have a certificate of incorporation. You can take that to your bank, take some ID, and they're going to set you up a bank account, and now you're in business.
Yeah, and this is really, 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 really important. You and your business are separate entities.
Do not use your personal bank account.
Do not use your personal bank account.
Don't use your joint bank account with your wife or anything like that. No, it's a whole separate entity. Ensure from day dot that you have a separate bank account.
Yes. So what you want to do is so you want to take some cash, make that $5,000 or $10,000 out of your personal account, transfer that through into the company bank account, and then the company only buys things related to the company.
Yep.
If you want to buy something personal, what you need to do is you need to pay yourself a wage, even if it's a very, very, very small amount. You pay yourself into your personal account and you can spend out of that personal account.
Exactly.
What you don't want to end up doing is spending money out of the business account for personal expenses, like don't eat McDonald's anyway, but if you wanted to go buy beers for the weekend, or you go out and go out to a restaurant with some friends and use the company card, those are not tax deductible expenses. So you need to be careful about spending company money. If you're buying something company related, it comes out of the company account. If it's personal related, it comes out of the personal account. Absolutely. Keep those two separate and you won't get in trouble.
If you're at all uncertain about that, the best person to ask is the accountant you just hired. Okay, because they're going to be the perfect people to ask about that in whatever jurisdiction country you might be in. But it's a complete shift in your mindset. You are now two people.
Yes.
You are acting for the company, the entity, and you are your own person.
Exactly. And we've got to wrap up really, really soon, but in terms of what is a business expense and what is a personal expense, the best way to think about this is, if you were to purchase something and you were an employee, would you expect your boss to pay for it? So let's say Reubs, if I asked you to drive from Auckland through to Otaki so we can do some podcasts and do some strategic planning, would you expect your boss to pay for your gas to come down for these meetings?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I've asked you to come here for work.
Yeah.
Now, if you and your wife go for a holiday to Whangamata and go to a car show, would you expect your boss to pay for that?
Probably not.
No, so that's a personal expense.
Correct.
So the best rule of thumb is, would I expect my boss to pay for this? So another really quick one is Subway at lunchtime. Would my boss pay for my Subway at lunchtime? No.
But if I was travelling out of town...
Yes, if you've left town to go and see a client, yes, you're out of town because you're away from...
where I'd normally eat lunch, which would be at home, for example.
So that's the really good rule of thumb, is what's personal and what is a business expense. Now, I'm just wary of time. We should look at wrapping up very shortly. So what we've quickly covered here is we've looked at registering a domain name.
Yep.
We have set up an email address, which is using that domain name. We have found ourselves an accountant who is using the technology that we want to use long term in our business and are also of a similar age to us.
One we can relate to.
Yeah.
We created some sort of entity, whether it be a company or similar. So based on the advice from our accountant, we're going to set up some sort of legal entity to trade through.
Your accountant may even help you do that.
Yeah, totally.
As part of onboarding you as a client. Then you're going to set up your bank accounts.
Yep. And that's it. You're in business now. You've got a bank account with some money in it, and a company and a legal entity.
We haven't designed a logo yet. So we'll do in the next time we catch up. So in next month we'll look at designing logos and starting to get some branding set up, and how we get some website and flyers, and how do we find these customers. We'll cover that in the next session. What we wanted to focus on here was very much the compliance. How do we get the entity registered, the bank accounts opened and ready to start trading?
Great, and that brings us to now. So we'll wrap that up there, and we'll catch you next month. We will cover all that great stuff.
We'll see you soon.